Hey family, welcome to the video version of my journal. I'm Stephanie Rivers. Welcome to the conversation. Come on in, kings and queens, to the conversation. We're going to talk a little bit of politics today. So get ready for the conversation. If you are new to my video journal, welcome aboard. And if you are returning, we want to welcome you back. Either way, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first to know. I've got a little bit of background music just to set the mood a little bit, but we're going to get started. And I want to thank you in advance for taking your time to be with me today. This is the video version of my journal, and I am TriCasting on Facebook Live and YouTube and even LinkedIn. And I've added a few more platforms that I never seem to remember right now. So I have to write those down. I also have a few new subscribers. So thanks for liking and sharing and subscribing. This week marks the 20th anniversary of 9/11, the terrorist attack, and it's the end of the Afghanistan war that started in retaliation to 9/11. The whole idea was for American troops to teach Afghan troops to defend their own government against the Taliban, which is the terrorist group that claim responsibility for 9/11. And it is officially the longest war that American military troops have been involved in. It included millions of dollars for military training of Afghan troops. It included expensive military equipment. It included people moving their lives from the United States or wherever they were to Afghanistan. And it included 20 years of military protection from the Taliban. So your tax dollars and my tax dollars went to support another government and another group of people for the past 20 years. That's countless amounts of money invested and time invested on the front end. The question is, what were the expectations on the back end? Nobody puts that much time and effort into anything, and you don't expect something on the back end. So I'm not clear on what was expected. And if it was just about retaliation for 9/11, then, and you know more about this, why don't you go ahead and comment in the comment section down here, and I will bring you in. But essentially, even with any investment, people talk about return on investment. What are you getting out of the deal? America's commitment to Afghanistan wasn't supposed to be forever. Yet 20 years after American military presence and support has proven that it was not the best return on investment, because days after American troops pulled out officially, Afghan troops were supposed to hold the line for themselves. The Taliban took over. So it's just like the day after 9/11, 9/12. If you would have said you need to support yourself, Afghanistan government, they were not any more prepared 20 years later to support themselves after all the effort that was put into them. Now, I don't know how you feel about that, but that's the biggest example of that being a bad return on investment, if you ask me. Mainstream media would have us focus on people crying, the tears, getting us in our feelings, showing us human interest articles and stories featuring crying people. But emotions aside, simple math says that The last 20 years has been a waste of time and money. And the extremist group that America was supposed to be helping Afghanistan fight and preparing them to fight for themselves still exists. And the Taliban is probably stronger, probably more skilled, probably looking for ways to do more damage than they ever did before. So that's why I feel like it's a bad return on investment. So now let's talk about what's the next step, because now Afghan people who worked with Americans against the Taliban are now forced to flee their own country. Although most of them went to neighboring countries, a lot of them are being evacuated to America. We know where they're running from, but where they running to? Where y'all dropping them off at? What's the plan from here? Because now it seems like after 20 years of a bad investment, now you're about to ask Americans, ask other countries, ask American people to put more time and money into what has already turned out to be a bad return on investment. So, of course, if you were an American citizen that had relocated to Afghanistan, of course, those citizens should get priority when it comes to evacuating out of Afghanistan. But it turns out that about 50,000 refugees could end up in the United States as a result of the official end of the war, and some of them already have arrived. So now, what's the plan? What you gonna do? Because we're in the middle of hopefully the tail end of a pandemic where people claim that they are going through their own issues. So putting American citizens or America in general in a position that we are forced to help somebody else, that in itself is something that is not that shouldn't happen. At least 8,000 refugees will qualify for special immigrant visas. So if you're unfamiliar with it, the visa it allows you to do certain things. If it's an educational visa, you can come and study in America or abroad, depending on where it is. We're talking about Afghans coming to America. So they're getting these special visas that allow them to work in the United States. Now, these special visas were approved by a special act of Congress at the end of July. So that proves that when Congress wants to act, they act. They don't have to put together a committee. They don't have to study nothing. They act when they want to act. They don't have to do no special investigations. When they want to act, they act. But they'll tell us when we are asking for something, when Americans demand something, oh, we got to do a special investigation. We got to put together a special committee. It's going to take time. It's going to take 10 years, 5 years. But if they really want to do something, Congress can do it. Voila, it's done. So that's what they wanted to do when it came to the refugees from Afghanistan. They wanted to create special visas that allow them to come to the United States and work. And now those special visas have been approved and are now in action. So we can expect at least 8,000, as many as 50,000 Afghanistan refugees from Afghanistan to be walking the streets of the United States. Last time I checked, all the top level government jobs with security clearances were filled. So maybe, you know how you pass by Starbucks, you pass by your favorite fast food restaurant, and they have these signs up that say, we need help, or we have to close early because we don't have the staffing. Well, maybe now your favorite Starbucks or your favorite fast food joint can open up and have reliable hours, because maybe some of these refugees can now work at fast food restaurants. I don't know. I don't know where else they might be wanting to place them, because again, we're going through our own issues in America that I think need to be prioritized. Others who don't qualify for those special visas, they are going to get what's called humanitarian parole status. Now I know parole status is something that we think negatively of, or we think when people have been when they are released from incarceration, they are paroled. But for Afghanistan refugees, the parole status means they get to, since they can't legally work, since they don't legally qualify for that elevated visa status, they get what's called parole status, which essentially means the State Department has set aside stipends, which means free money. So the State Department is allowing these parole status Afghanistan refugees to get stipends, free money, and free housing. Don't know for how long, maybe indefinitely, I don't know. But they get free money and free housing through the State Department. That was also something that was recently approved. So get this, these parolees, these special parole status refugees from Afghanistan, they don't even have to have a passport. They don't even need a passport to come here. They can just show their Afghanistan ID cards and voila, they get entrance into the United States. So again, your tax dollars and my tax dollars are going to support a group of people who already have proven themselves to be bad investments for our tax dollars. Now, I know it's not popular to say out loud, but there, I'm saying it because somebody needs to say it. Because when it comes to other issues, and I'll get to that, nobody has a problem calling out certain other people who want for the American federal government to prioritize their issues. So it sounds like a great return on investment if you're from the perspective of a refugee. That's a great return on investment. You came to Afghanistan, American people came to Afghanistan, you supported us with money and military training, military equipment. You helped us for 20 years. You expected us to be on our own at some point. 20 years later, you left. You expected us to be able to handle our own business, toe our own line, defend our own homes. And days later, we proved that we couldn't do it. So now take y'all in to the United States and we're going to give y'all free money and free housing. That's a great investment on them for Afghanistan refugees. But if you're talking about American taxpayers, I consider that to be a bad investment. And if that's not bad enough, I'm starting to get emails. I'm going to show you a picture of an email. I'm starting to get emails like this one that says, donate, help Afghan refugees, donate now. That's what I'm getting. So you probably have seen this same type of email. So now, after all the money and tax dollars and military aid and equipment and training and free money and free housing that they're going to get automatically without my donation, now you want me to donate. So my short answer is no, I will not be donating nothing. Because I've already given enough, in my opinion. The U.S. government, if you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe to my channel so the next time that I post videos, you'll be the first to know. Now, I don't know how you feel about it, and I don't consider myself to be inhumane. In fact, I'm a very humane civil person, and I don't mind helping the next person. But simple math, emotions aside, it's just been a bad investment all the way around. The U.S. government makes it hard for me to care about the plight of other people's injustices because the federal government hasn't fully acknowledged their role in the injustices committed against descendants of American slaves. See, they want you, and when you speak out on that, they want you to care about other people so much. They want you to give money to help other people so much, but they have failed in their acknowledgement of what was done to my people. And that is something that I'm not going to be silent about. With each passing year, African Americans, descendants of American slaves, continue to be denied any genuine consideration, any genuine discussion of monetary reparations by the federal government. And I'm not talking about home loans with small interest rates. I'm not talking about black farmers getting money. I'm not talking about erasing of the student loans. I'm not talking about any of those programs that in the end is nothing special for African Americans. I'm not talking about a rising tide lifts all boats attitude. I'm talking about trillions of dollars that should be reparations for descendants of American slaves. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about stolen generational wealth through slave labor, through inhumane treatment, through countless discoveries and inventions reassigned in every industry imaginable. That's what I'm talking about. So it's hard for me, again, to care about somebody else's plight when you don't give a damn about mine and me and mine. That's just common psychology. That's how people are made up. I can't care about you if you don't care about me. That's how I'm made anyway. So if you haven't already, again, I'm almost finished, but I just wanted to point some things out because a lot of people would have you, would have us, would to they would have you to be silent about your pain, all the while they want you to focus on healing somebody else's pain. But in reality, the transatlantic slave trade was the biggest it was the biggest forced migration of a group of people in the history of the world. Okay? Still. But they would have you focus on somebody else's inhumane uh, um, uh, issues that they're going through instead of focusing on what the American government did to us. They would have us to help them right the wrong for somebody else, and that's just not how I'm made. America has a habit of pointing out the shortcomings of others while ignoring their own shortcomings, and it has a habit of prioritizing the needs of some people when it suits them and ignoring the needs of others when it suits them. And this is my way, my First Amendment right to speak out against it. So this is what I'm doing, and I think if you feel the same way, you should, in your own way, in your community, you should speak out against it as well. I know it's not popular, especially when nobody wants to see babies killed or anybody killed unjustly. Nobody wants to see that. I was reading something, a guy had a shirt on the other day. It says, when we stand up and protest, you fight. You speak out against it. When we kneel and protest, you speak out against it. When we die unjustly, you don't say nothing. That's the way I feel about it. It's like just whatever we do other than die and take whatever inhumane conditions are thrown at us, then we're wrong for speaking out for ourselves. And I'm just going to have to be wrong in your eyes, and I'm just going to have to be right in my eyes, because that's what matters to me, that I speak up and do what I can for the people who are my ancestors and who created, because generational wealth was created through the free slave labor, through the brain thrust that was brain trust that was African Americans, through land that we cultivated. It was created. The thing is, it just wasn't created for our families. It was usurped, it was stolen. And until we continue to speak out and let people know that we're not going to just stand by and give money and time and energy to somebody else's situation, that we need to speak out for ourselves, regardless to how unpopular it might be, then it's probably going to continue to happen. So that's all I have for you today. Just wanted you to know how I feel. And if you feel the same way or different, use your First Amendment rights to let somebody know about it. So to find out more about the things that I care about, you can go to the written version of my journal. It's at eurweb.com. Thanks and have a super day.